YouTube, your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football, Houston Texans football. Today we're going to talk about the Houston Texans and what do they need to do to get inside the playoffs, what do they need to do for themselves, and also what do they need to happen around them for them to get a playoff spot. We're going to talk about, we're going to break it down, but before we get into that, like I've been telling you before, man, if you're liking the content, make sure you're liking the channel, make sure you're watching all the videos, you comment on all the videos, you liking all the videos, you sharing all the videos, all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, any type of social media platform you use, make sure you share on the same social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media as well. The link in the description below. We're still in the race to get to 6,000 subscribers, so you know what that means. I need you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, so they can tell another friend, so they can tell some more friends, and put them on game with the channel so we get the channel growing and growing and growing. I really, really appreciate that. So I need you to like, share, and subscribe, and let's get the channel up to 6,000 subscribers. I really, really appreciate that. Now, the Houston Texans fell to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. We already know that. It was a battle for the AFC South, and that put the Texans that were in the playoff going into that game and knocked them one game out of the playoffs as it stands right now. So we're going to talk about what do the Texans need to do to get into the playoffs, to get a playoff spot. Is the division still on board, or do they have to settle for a wild card? We're going to talk about it. So right now, this is how the AFC standings are looking. Baltimore has the number 1 seed at 9-3. They're on the bye week this week. Kansas City is at the 2 seed with 8-3. Jacksonville is at the 3 seed with 8-3. Miami is the 4 seed leading their division at 8-3. Like I said, Baltimore has a bye week this week. They've played an extra game. That's the reason why they have an extra win. Now, the wild card goes Pittsburgh at the 5 seed at 7-4. Cleveland at the 6 seed with another 7-4. Right now, Indy is the 7th seed with a 6-5 record, and this is how the rest of the playoffs with the teams that are outside looking in. We're sitting at the 8th spot with a 6-5 record. Denver right below us at the 9th spot with a 6-5 record. Buffalo is at 10 with a 6-6 record, and Cincinnati is 11th with a 5-6 record. So right now, the Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, and Denver Nuggets are all tied. I mean, not Denver Nuggets, Denver Broncos are all tied with a 6-5 record. Now, Indy has a tiebreaker because Indy's already beaten Houston. And as it stands right now, Houston has a better conference record. Houston is 3-3 above Denver, while Denver is sitting there at 4-3. I mean, 3-4 in the conference. So that's why the Texans are above Denver. Again, that's going to sell itself on Sunday when the Texans go up and face Denver. Now, this is the Texans' remaining schedule. This week, they're at home versus Denver. Then next week, they go to the Jets in New York to play the Jets. And they go to Tennessee to play the Titans. Come back home to play the Cleveland Browns. Come back home to play the Tennessee Titans. And they end off the season at Indianapolis. So we're going to look at the Jaguars because I know a lot of people want to see maybe the Texans still got a way to win the division. This is the Jags schedule. On Monday night, this Monday night, they play the Cincinnati Bengals at home. Then they go to Cleveland, home against Baltimore, at Tampa Bay, home against Carolina, and at Tennessee. I'm going to be honest with you. Jacksonville doesn't really have a tough schedule. Their toughest game is home against Baltimore. It's at home against Baltimore. They home against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati no longer has Joe Burrow. Yeah, they got to go to Cleveland, but Cleveland is missing Deshaun Watson. They missing their backup quarterback, and they possibly could be missing Myles Garrett. Then it's at Tampa Bay, which is not an easy game, but it's not a hard game either. It's an okay game. Then they got home against Carolina, which is the worst team in the league, and they end off the season against the Tennessee Titans. All Jacksonville really has to do is win 3 games, and they fine. It depends on what game. I mean, I take that back. I don't see the Jags losing 3 games. The Jags have to lose 3 games for the Texans to be able to get back in, because right now, like I said, they're 8-3. The Texans are 6-5. The Jags have a conference record of 6-2 to the Texans 3-3 in conference record, and they also have a division record at 4-1 to the Texans 1-2 in the division. The Texans will have to win out, and they will need the Jags. Even if the Jags lose to the Titans, that ties their conference, that ties their divisional record. The more likely it seems like the Jags might have a better conference record, and also they're gonna have a better record. Now we'll have a tie record. So what the Texans need to do, the Texans have to have a better record than Jacksonville. They have to have a better record, which means the Texans have to win out and win out and be 12-5, and they will need Jacksonville to lose. They would need Jacksonville to lose 3 games. The only way possible is if they lose to the Titans and y'all have the same divisional record and the same record, and then y'all met head to head. Then possibly if they lose a game to like I say if they lose the game to Baltimore, Cleveland, lose to Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincy, then y'all probably have the same conference record. Then they'll probably go to point differential. I don't really know exactly what the next tiebreaker is, but it's very unlikely that Jacksonville is going to fall. I know people don't want to hear this, but Jacksonville's actually a good team. I'm not that high on Trevor Lawrence, but they're 8-3 for a reason. They ain't just wake up 8-3. They're a good football team, and like I said, they schedule at first look tougher on paper, but no Joe Burrow. Cleveland with no Deshaun Watson and also possibly no Myles Garrett. Yeah, Baltimore against Lamar Jackson, but the Ravens, even though they're 9-3, if you watch the last couple games, the Ravens haven't really looked all that impressive. Tampa Bay is a winnable game. Carolina shows a winnable game, and then even though they're on the road to Tennessee is not having a good season this year. So that game could be up in there because Tennessee could be ready to play spoiler. You already know how that can go. So that's what Jacksonville's record looks like. So I think it's kind of hard pressed for them to actually lose the division. So what you're looking at more than likely is going to be the wild card. Now, the three teams that head you in the wild card is Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Indianapolis. Now, again, you've already beat Pittsburgh. You have the head-to-head tiebreaker against Pittsburgh. But as it stands right now, Pittsburgh has a better record than you. This is how Pittsburgh's schedule is shaping up. They have they're at home versus the Arizona Cardinals. They're at home versus the New England Patriots. On the road to face the Indianapolis Colts at Indy. Home against the Cincinnati Bengals. At Seattle, and then end off the season at Baltimore. They actually have a tough, outside of the New England game, they actually have a tough schedule. So it seems like, especially that Week 15 matchup, them and Indy might be canceling itself out. Now you got Cleveland. Now this is the Cleveland schedule. They're on the road this week at the Rams. They at home against Jacksonville. They're at home against Chicago. They come to Houston to play the Texans. They're at the New York Jets. At home. No, they're home, I'm sorry. They're home against the New York Jets, and they finish up the season at Cincinnati. The Indianapolis Colts they're going to Tennessee this week, to Cincinnati the following week, home against Pittsburgh, at the Falcons, home versus Vegas, and then home against the Houston Texans. That Week 15 matchup of Pittsburgh and the Colts is going to be a very, very vital matchup because one of those teams are going to lose. And like I said, you already have the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh. So if Pittsburgh lose, that knocks them out. In Indianapolis, y'all have the same record. And so if Indianapolis loses, that basically knocks them out because now they have a worse record than you. And you still have a way to end it off this season. Now, Tennessee could do you a huge favor this week. I don't know if they'll do it, but Tennessee could do you a huge favor this week. Then they do have the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, with no Joe Burrow, I can see Indianapolis win that football game because no Joe Burrow. Like I said, that Pittsburgh game is very vital. Falcons, they're still in the mix for their division. Vegas is Vegas. And then us, you already know how it is with us, is that's going to be the final game of the season. Right underneath us is the Denver Nuggets. I mean, not Denver Nuggets. I keep saying Denver Nuggets. Right underneath us is the Denver Broncos. That's who we face this week. So the Denver Broncos schedule comes up as they go to Houston, to the Chargers, to Detroit, home against the Patriots, home against the Chargers, and then at Vegas. I could realistically see the Denver Broncos losing the next 3 games and be completely eliminated out of the playoffs. Like, just losing it. Like, they have a tough stretch the next 3 games. I know they've won 5 straight. So you're trying to tell me that they'll go 5, 6, 7, like to win 8 straight? I don't see the Denver Broncos doing that. So I think the Denver Broncos, it's a bit like the rubber's going to end up meeting the road, and the water's going to eventually level off, and I can see them tailing off, especially within the next couple weeks. I can see them losing to the Chargers, at the Chargers. I can definitely see them losing at Detroit. Obviously, I can see them losing against the Texans. I think they could beat New England. They probably could beat the Chargers at home, and then the Vegas Raiders, whatever. Now, the next team is Buffalo. Now, Buffalo, they're 6-6. They're on a bye week this week. They play an extra game. They have probably the toughest schedule out of all these teams down the stretch. The Buffalo Bills are home. They have to go to Kansas City, home against the Dallas Cowboys, at the Chargers, home against the Patriots, but then the end of the season at Miami. And the thing is, they're already 3-5 in the conference. See, now their conference record matters because the Texans do not face the Buffalo Bills, none this year, or have faced them. So you don't have any head-to-head tiebreaker. So the tiebreaker when it comes to you and Buffalo is going to be conference record. Right now you're 3-3. They're 3-5. So they have a two-game loss column on you when it comes to the conference record, and they gotta go to Kansas City and to the Chargers and to Miami to finish off the season. The only two home games is at home against Dallas and home against New England. I could potentially see them lose. If they lose two more games, it's a wrap for them. If they lose two more games, they virtually have to win. Now, they can only afford to lose maybe one game and still have a shot at the playoffs. They can't lose any games if they want to catch Miami. That's why I don't feel like any of these divisional teams, that's why I put the divisional records up there at Baltimore, Kansas City, and Miami. I don't feel like none of these teams are going to fall and end up losing their division. Maybe possibly Baltimore because they're closer to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, but looking at Pittsburgh and not Cincinnati, but Pittsburgh and Cleveland schedule, I just don't see it happening. I just don't see a real way for them to actually take over Miami. I don't see Miami losing their division because Buffalo's schedule is hard. Now, I really didn't want to put them up here because one, they did lose Joe Burrow, and the Cincinnati Bengals they're 5-6 their division record. Their record is 5-6. Their conference record is 1-6. They are 1-6 in the AFC. I don't see how, realistically, unless they go undefeated without Joe Burrow, that's why I don't think it's realistically that they can make the playoffs. But this is their schedule. At Jacksonville this week, home against the Indianapolis Colts, home against the Minnesota Vikings, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, and then they finish up the season home against the Cleveland Browns. That's their schedule as it stands right now. That's their schedule as it stands right now. And I don't think that they can really get in with their schedule. Their schedule's not too hard, but I think they've already done enough damage to themselves by being 1-6 in the division. 1-6 in the conference. But what I can think they can play spoiler. Because they could do you a solid the next 2 weeks at Jacksonville, at Indianapolis. If they win one or two of those games, especially the Colts game, that does the Houston Texans a huge service because the Texans could fall anywhere from not being in the playoffs all the way up to like the fourth seed. Like they could go anywhere. I think they can't go no higher than the third seed. I don't think they can go no higher than the third seed if I did my calculations right. I don't think they can go no higher than the third seed. Now, like I said, the Texans, like we always said, we talked about their division, their schedule. Home against Denver, at the Jets, at Tennessee, home against Cleveland, at home against Tennessee, and then at Indianapolis. And again, the two teams above you are already on your calendar. They're already on your schedule. Home against Cleveland, and then off the season against the Indianapolis Colts. The team that's right below you, the Denver Broncos, that's who you face this week. You've already got the tiebreaker against against Pittsburgh. You already got the tiebreaker against Cincinnati. Unless something weird happens, I don't see how you can lose the tiebreaker against the Bills because they conference record so bad. So it seems like it's going to be hard to catch Jacksonville, but it's very likely for the Texans to be able to make the playoffs because the teams in front, all they got to do is take care of business. The Texans can't go no worse than 4-2. They can't go no further, and that's pushing it. I really think the worst really they can do is 5-1. 5-1, they should be good. They should be good in the division. Should be good in the conference. But you have to beat Indianapolis. You have to beat Denver. You cannot let Denver, even though Denver does have a tough road with the Chargers, Detroit, New England, Chargers, and Vegas. I don't want to leave it the chance that they have the tiebreaker, the head-to-head tiebreaker against us. Indianapolis Colts, once you beat them, y'all split and you have a better conference record because right now the Colts divisional record is 2-2. They've already lost 2 games in the division. If you beat them, they give them at least 3 losses, right? Okay, that gives them 3 losses, and they still have to play against Tennessee this week. Now you do have to go against Tennessee twice. There is a chance that you lose one of those Tennessee games. Really, the only game realistically that you actually can afford to lose is actually the Jets game. Honestly, the Jets game is one of the games you can't afford to lose because Denver's right behind you. Denver's right behind you. Cleveland is in front of you, so you have to beat Cleveland, and you have to beat Indianapolis because they've already beaten you. As of right now, they have the tiebreaker on you. You cannot let them sweep you and to continue the tiebreaker. You have to break that plane. You have to make that plane even. So you have to beat the Indianapolis Colts. The two most wins is the Denver Broncos this week and the Indianapolis Colts at the end of the season. Indianapolis Colts is the most important game on your schedule. I don't care what no one says. That's the most important game on your schedule is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, like I said, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, those games are important. The least important game on your schedule is happening to be the New York Jets. It happens to be at least, even though it's an AFC game, because you don't have any more NFC opponents, even though it's an AFC game, they're not in the playoff mix as it stands right now. It's not a divisional record, so it won't hurt you in the Colts standing. And that, unlike Cleveland and Denver, they're not in the playoff mix as it stands right now. So you could afford to lose that game. Now, I know the crazy thing about it is if you lose to them, that could potentially elevate them and put them in the playoff conversation, and then that makes it bad. Because, like I said, if you actually beat Denver, you almost eliminate Denver. Like this is like a baby elimination game, right? This is like a baby playoff game against the Denver Broncos, because even though it won't be over for you if you lose to Denver, it just makes the road a little bit harder because I think Denver has the tiebreaker over the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. So if you beat Denver, I mean if Denver beats you in even if the Colts do beat the Titans, I think that Denver jumps up, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking at it right. Actually, no. No, because that would just make Denver 4-4 in the division. I mean, in the conference, and now make the Indianapolis Colts 5-3. So no, that's wrong. So even if you win, but that does leave the Denver Broncos over you. Now you gotta go over Denver. Now you have to have a better record than the Denver Broncos to actually make the playoffs. And now that also puts you 2 games behind. Puts you a game behind the Indianapolis Colts. It puts you 2 games. Yeah, 2 games behind the Cleveland Browns and 2 games behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, unless they end up losing as well. So then now what you'll be doing is you'll be needing other teams to do your bidding for you. That's what you'll be needing right now. You'll be needing other teams to come out there and do your bidding for you instead of you having control. As it stands right now, the Texans have complete control over what they need. They need to beat the Denver Broncos, they need to beat the Cleveland Browns, they need to beat the Indianapolis Colts, and they need to beat the Titans. Those are the most important things. They need to win this game. Now, I guess technically you can't afford to lose one of those Titan games, but then that just kind of makes the road muddy, the picture unclear when it comes to the Colts. That's what that kind of does. It kind of makes that picture a little bit unclear when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, if you happen to do that, because now y'all can have the same conference record. Y'all swept, y'all tied, y'all split against one another. Then y'all have the same conference record. I mean divisional record. Now it's gonna go to conference record. Then it's gonna go to wins over common opponents, point differentials. All these other tiebreakers start coming into the mix, and you don't want to lead those things. You want it to be cut and dry as far as head to head. Okay, cool. We ain't play each other. Oh, y'all split. Y'all tied. Division record. All right, cool. That's tied. Conference record, and leave it there. That's the last one. Once it goes past conference record, everything starts getting muddy because now you're looking common opponents, point differentials, points at home, and things like that to get to other tiebreakers. You don't want to let it get that far. You just handle your business. Like D'Amico said, if you really want this, you got to play like you want it. So you got to handle your business. And as it stands right now, the Texans are looking at the Walker. That's what happened when you lost to Jacksonville. That's why I said that the game against Jacksonville was one of the most, if not the most important home game in franchise history. There wasn't a regular season home game in franchise history, especially in recent memory, because it put you in this situation. If you would have beaten Jacksonville, we're talking about the 4th or the 3rd seed right now. Well, actually, no, we'll be talking about the 4th seed. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll be talking about the 4th seed in the AFC right now, leading the AFC South. But now we're talking about a team that's on the A side, on the A seed, on the outside looking in. Everything's still in front of you because, like I said, you have a tiebreaker over one team that's in front of you. The other team that's in front of you, two of the other teams in front of you, you got to play, and the team behind you got to play. You already beat one of the teams behind you, and the other team, they've done so poorly in the conference that it doesn't really matter. It's going to be hard for them to jump you. When it comes to Cleveland, when it comes to Cincinnati and Buffalo, they need teams to implode and playoff spots to open up. That's what they need. They need a lot of help, but they're still in the mix. But you look at their schedules, Buffalo, Kansas City, Dallas, Chargers, New England, Miami, Cincinnati Bengals with no Joe Burrow, Jacksonville, Indy, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Cleveland. those teams, like I said, Cincinnati schedule is really not all that bad, but they have Joe Burrow, what makes it even worse. Now you look, like I said, Pittsburgh, the team in front of you. All you just need Pittsburgh to stub its toe one time, and that helps you out tremendously. They home against Arizona, they could lose that game. Home against New England, they're going to beat New England. At Indianapolis, like I said, those two teams are going to cancel each other out. Home against the Cincinnati Bengals, at Seattle, then at Baltimore. Baltimore might have everything wrapped up by then, or they might be playing for the number 1 seed. So Pittsburgh, all you need is Pittsburgh to stub its toe one time. That opens up the door. And like I said, if they beat Indianapolis, they do you a solid. Now that puts Indianapolis behind before you even get a chance to play them. And then the same thing with Denver. Not Denver, but Cleveland. Cleveland stubbed its toe one time. And then you get a chance to play them. You're good. You're sitting pretty. So all you got to do is handle your business. And the wild card is right there for the taking. Like, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if you haven't, click that bell, get more videos. I holla.